With Joe Biden sinking in the polls like a corrupt, senile, inflatable duck with a hole in the bottom, Democrats are using all their resources to answer one question. Why don't Americans like Democrat policies when Democrat policies are so great? The search for answers began after Congresswoman and conniving Harridan Nancy Pelosi was invited to speak at Oxford University so British students could hear what their language sounds like after you take all the meaning out of it. Harridan Pelosi told the students that Americans are, quote, and this is a real quote, poor souls who are looking for some answers. We Democrats have given them the answers, but they're blocked by some of their views on guns, gays, and God, by which they mean a woman's right to choose. And the cultural issues cloud some of their reception of an argument that really is in their interest, unquote. Now, some of the Oxford students felt Pelosi's words revealed that arrogant Democrat elites are completely ignorant about the ideas of ordinary people, while other students were too busy playing Candy Crush on their phones to hear what she said. But here at home, Democrats immediately decided to find out why poor American souls won't accept Democrat answers when Democrat answers are so great. To study the problem, American journalists and other non-journalists traveled to red states in their imaginations by picturing stupid people who hate blacks and trying to think of what they might say if they were asked questions. What follows is a transcript of some of those interviews. Journalist: why do you hate the economy when the economy is so great? Imaginary stupid black-hating red state person: I hate the economy because I love guns and want to ban books because I'm prejudiced against homos. Other journalist: well, why do you hate diversity, equity, and inclusion when they're so great? Other stupid imaginary red state person: I hate diversity, equity, and inclusion because blacks are trying to replace real Americans in a secret conspiracy by Mexico. Yet another journalist: well then, why do you hate abortion when abortion is so great? Yet another imaginary stupid Nazi-like Trump lover: I hate abortion because women should be submissive and make sandwiches instead of having sex without babies attached to them. The results of these interviews were then rushed over to Scientific American and other non-scientific anti-Americans and published as peer-reviewed studies. In one study entitled "Psychologists Explain Why Racist Americans Can't See the Economy Is So Great," expert medical professionals from Dr. Joe Biden to Doogie Howser explain these poor, foolish Americans don't like paying $5 for a dozen eggs because they're ignorant of the fact that eggs raised your cholesterol levels in 1968 when doctors thought eggs raised your cholesterol levels. So actually, high egg prices keep you healthy in 1968 so that you can live until doctors realize that eggs are good for you, even though by that time you won't be able to afford them. Another Scientific American article was headlined, "DEI, It's So Great." The article explains why hiring airline pilots on the basis of their sex and skin color is so great, according to experts such as Denzel Washington, a black pilot in a major motion picture. Scientists studying what Washington would have said if someone had asked him explain that DEI hiring is so great because in the past there were not enough black and female pilots, and now there will be for at least a brief period of time. Scientific American also ran a peer-reviewed study reviewed by such peers as Piers Brosnan and Piers Morgan, which asked the question, why can't conservatives see abortion is so great when without abortion you might have to change diapers for 3 years when all you wanted was a little Rumpty-Tumpty? The article revealed that conservatives are psychologically less sensitive to gender inequality than leftists and therefore are happier, but in a stupid kind of way that thinks babies shouldn't be slaughtered. So, now that Democrats have developed a scientific understanding of why Americans don't like their policies, they have set to work imprisoning their political opponents, silencing dissent on social media, and arresting anti-abortion protesters so they can win re-election anyway, because Democrats are just so great. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show. All right, we are back laughing our way through the violent death of everything we hold dear. Klavan Klapbacks at DailyWire.com is where you can respond to the show. Tell us what you think of my opinions or my jacket or whatever else you want to talk about. Klavan is spelled Klavan. You might have known. Klapbacks is Klapbacks at DailyWire.com. We would love to hear from you. Please write in whether you agree with us or are completely wrong. Also, take a listen. Try to listen to us on Daily Wire Plus if you can. It is free. You don't have to be a member. You don't have to subscribe. You should, but you don't have to. And you can leave comments there on the feed while the show is being played, or leave comments on some of the other, places, platforms where we're at, but except they censor us there. But still, you can leave comments there. And you can also, of course, hear the interviews on Wednesday. Don't forget, we put those out on everywhere and on the RSS feed as well. Last week's interview was with Jonathan Haidt. Really interesting interview. His new book, The Anxious Generation. Jonathan Haidt, really terrific interview. And this week we'll have the wonderful swimmer Riley Gaines on her new book, Get the Hell Out of My Locker Room, Girly Boy. No, it's not. I just made that up. It's called Swimming Against the Current. And we will talk to her this week. The comment today, if you leave a comment, and we like the comment because it's disgusting, morally reprehensible, if you attack people on the basis of things they can't do anything about, their skin color, their sex, that's the kind of material we love because it just fits seamlessly in with the rest of what we're doing. Today comes from PC Bapper, maybe, says, another great episode. What I love most about tuning into Andrew Klavan is that there seems to be nowhere else on the planet where truth to power is spoken effortlessly, without apology or trepidation, yet paradoxically by a man who famously lacks all manner of ease. It's true. I mean, you were born with a handicap, but you have to overcome it. And so even though I am without ease, I say what I have to say, despite all the haters, who would be haters if we had any ease. All right, let's get to today's episode. Kicking Buttker. So today I want to talk about the way that fake truth is manufactured, this kind of fog of fake truth is manufactured about the speech, for instance, that the Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Buttker made when he was giving a commencement speech. All of the reactions to people's opinions and to the upcoming election between, you may have heard of him, Donald Trump, and the other guy, what's his name? He can never remember. Things are much, much different than what everybody's saying, even on the right as well. So let's get right down to it. Chapter 1, Trump towers over Biden. Hey, if you're struggling with collections, medical bills, credit cards, or personal loans, you need to check out PDS Debt. PDS Debt is an innovative one-stop shop to guide you on your journey to freedom from debt. There is no one-size-fits-all solution to becoming debt-free, which is why PDS Debt offers multiple programs and solutions tailored to your specific needs, budget, and future financial goals. Whether you're going through a serious hardship or just can't seem to keep up with the high interest on your credit cards, PDS Debt will craft a custom solution to give you instant relief and start saving you money. If you're making payments every month on your debt and your balances aren't going down, this program is for you. PDS Debt provides options that consolidate your debts into one low monthly payment. Not only does PDS Debt have an A+ rating on the Better Business Bureau, but you'll save thousands in interest and fees and pay off your debt in a fraction of the time. PDS Debt cares about helping you get out of debt. Check out all the reviews and see how many people mention PDS Debt employees by name. It's incredible. Right now, PDS Debt is offering my listeners a free debt analysis, and it only takes 30 seconds. Head over to pdsdebt.com/Klavan to get your free debt assessment today. That's pdsdebt.com/Klavan today. How do you spell PDS? It's Klavan. Klavan, there are no e's in Klavan. Chapter 1, Trump towers over Biden. So I want to start first by showing you how news becomes fake news. I want to take you into the factory of fake news and show you how this happens. New polls came out this week that show Trump is starting to really pull away in this election, which does not surprise me in the least. If anybody is paying attention to this trial, it's a show trial, it's utterly corrupt. And of course, Biden has set the world on fire. And, I don't understand why anybody would be thinking about anything else but voting for Trump at this point. But the polls come out, and This is a Siena College poll released by the New York Times and the Philadelphia Inquirer. Biden is losing to Donald Trump in 5 of 6 battleground states. He's trailing Trump in Nevada by 12 points, which is kind of amazing. I don't think a Democrat has lost Nevada since what's his name? Since I can't think of it. Kerry, since John Kerry, I think. And in Georgia, Trump is ahead by 10 points. In Michigan and Arizona by 7 points. And then other polls, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, they're closer together, but it's within the margin of error. And so if Trump wins the battleground states and the states that he won before, he'll win. So that's the obvious lead, right? If you're publishing this, it's the obvious lead. Here is how the New York Times, what the New York Times did was they printed the numbers, so you had to read them yourself, with a headline that said that Trump is ahead in the battle states. But then on the front page, they ran an analysis, which is time speak for lies. This is analysis where they're going to give you what they want you to hear. It's by Katie Rogers. So those are the polls. I just read them to you. That's what really happened. Here's the analysis. Recent polling has been consistent enough to reflect widespread discontent with both candidates. Mr. Biden's handling of the Gaza war has been deeply unpopular among young Black and Hispanic voters whose frustration, if it continues, could unravel the president's Democratic coalition. Total nonsense. First of all, young people don't care mostly about Gaza. They care about the economy. They care about their lives, all the stuff that people usually care about. The New York Times, it's very important to the New York Times that we support rapists and murderers. They love rapists and murderers. Rapists and murderers are very important people to the New York Times. They're the constituency of the New York Times. They don't read the New York Times, but the New York Times in their imagination is helping the rapists and murderers who go by the name of Hamas, who hate America, hate Israel, want to kill the Jews and kill us. You know, this is the people the Times like. So they're telling Biden, they're telegraphing to Biden, you know, your problem is you're not being tough enough on the free state of Israel and should be supporting the rapists and murderers of Hamas, right? So total falsehood, complete falsehood. So it goes on and on. The polling has been more frustrating to Mr. Biden and his advisors than they have acknowledged publicly, all right? So these polls are really bad news for Trump, according to the New York Times. They say it's hard for Donald Trump to win more voters than we're seeing in this poll. So Trump is, you can't make this stuff up. Trump is topped out, according to the New York Times, because they know that no more voters are in there for Donald Trump, even though even the New York Times is admitting that business leaders are starting to turn to Trump. And a lot of people are starting to say, you know, we kind of liked it better with no wars and less inflation. That was kind of better, even though you kept telling us Trump was bad. We liked the no wars. That was good. So they're completely making this up. Now, before I get to the point I want to make about Trump this week, I just want to play something that was on the Barry Weiss podcast from her Free Press. Barry Weiss interviewed her wife, Nellie Bowles, who is, I really like Nellie and I like Barry very much. They're both left-wingers, lesbians. They have a baby they probably shouldn't have, but I just really get along with them, and they're lovely people, and they're honest people. So I can't bring myself to dislike them. I know I'm supposed to for the team, but I just can't. And Nellie Bowles like Barry, was a Times reporter. I think she was in the Times business section. And she was a leftist. She's still kind of a leftist, but she would bring these stories in. And she just thought, I think I'm supposed to report the truth, right? So at one point during the riots, the George Floyd riots, she went to Kenosha, which was on fire, was burning to the ground in that mostly peaceful but sort of incredibly violent riot. And she noticed that the white businesses had protected themselves and were insured, and the black businesses were being destroyed. It was always what happens in these riots. And she brings the story back, and the election is going on. It hasn't happened yet, and this is an absolute disaster. And she goes back to report it, and this is what happened. This is cut one.
I come back with that story, and basically, I mean, it sounds so petty now, but it's basically slow-rolled. It's basically that we're not going to have space to run a story about what happened in Kenosha. We're not going to have space. And more than explicit lies about what was happening in 2020, how the mainstream media controlled the narrative was by not covering it. That was the most important thing. It was to ignore it. And it was to all of us collectively agree to ignore it. The editors were like, we're just not going to have space until after the election, sorry. And that was a while. And I was months. And I was like, what do you mean till after the election?
It's wonderful. And here she is. She's a left-winger. She's gay. She is married to a woman. But she's honest. She's an honest person, and she's trying to do her job and trying to dedicate herself to what a reporter should be doing, which is reporting things that are actually happening. And the New York Times is now a lie factory, and leftism is a lie factory. I think leftism is a lie factory because they can't defend what they're trying to say, so they have to lie to hide the truth. But this was happening way back in the 80s. I was writing for a left-wing paper called The Village Voice, and I noticed as a new regime kind of came in that they started to lose my reviews in the system. We've lost it. We can't find your review. It's disappeared. Oh, it's too late now and all this. And finally, I wrote a review by a transvestite, had written a war memoir about World War II. And it turned out the war memoir was completely fake. And so I was actually reviewing the book when the news came out that this was completely fake. And I led with my lead on my review was who would have ever imagined that a transvestite would not be what he seemed to be. And that was the end of my career at the Village Voice because that just got lost and I finally figured it out. All right, so that is how this is being manufactured, right? These polls are coming out that show Biden is failing, and he's not failing because of Gaza. I'm sure that's not helping him with his far left constituents. That's not what the black vote is about. That's not what young people's vote is about. He's failing because he has messed up everything. The Trump economy was good. The Trump foreign policy was working. All of that stuff was working, and the Trump border was being closed. All of it is now a mess, and none of that is good for anybody, right? So suddenly, all of a sudden, we're being told that this is terrible for Trump because he's got all the votes that he could possibly get, so he's not going to do any better than this. And suddenly, Biden comes out with this. This is cut two.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
So that's like a 15-second video with about 15 cuts in it because he can only speak for 3 words before he falls apart. So why do you think that happened? Why do you think that happened right after these polls come out? Just guess, right? Here's Nate Silver writing on Substack. Basically, Biden traded 3 debates after Labor Day for 1 debate after Labor Day. If the White House thinks the debates are a liability for Biden, this is a brilliant tactical move. And I mean that sincerely. By throwing this curveball, Biden made it appear as though he proactively wanted more debates when he actually wanted fewer. Total baloney. This is total baloney. Trump didn't debate during the primaries. He didn't debate during the primaries. If Biden doesn't want to debate him, which I don't think he probably does, if he didn't want to debate him, he could have said, look, Trump didn't debate during the primaries. I don't need to debate him now. Why should I debate him? Why, I don't believe in him. I don't, respect him. Biden could easily have gotten away with that with his constituency. Trump responds immediately. I mean, if you think this guy does not have the predator's instinct to smell blood, Biden is terrified. Biden, or whoever is running Biden, whoever is making decisions for him, they see what this train is coming down the track. There's nothing they can do about it. So they have to get in and mix it up. They have to take this chance. And they're hoping that Trump won't go for it. Crazy. Trump leaps on it like a lion on a gazelle. He puts on Truth Social, I am ready and willing to debate Crooked Joe at the 2 proposed times in June and September. I would strongly recommend more than 2 debates, and for excitement purposes, a very large venue. Although Biden is supposedly afraid of crowds, that's only because he doesn't get them. Just tell me when, I'll be there. Let's get ready to rumble. Here he is with Hugh Hewitt. This is cut 3.
President Biden just issued you a debate challenge for June and September with the Veeps talking in July. Do you accept?
Oh, absolutely. I've been trying to get, he's issuing it. I wonder whether or not he shows up because, he also challenged me to golf. So I'm a very good golfer. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He said, I'll give him 3 aside. But he knows he'll never play. This is sort of like that, I think. But I hope not, because I really think he has to debate. He might as well get it over with. Probably should do it early so that he can, he's not going to get any better.
I love it because he's getting older every day. So now just remember, this is a 77-year-old man who's under 90 indictments, who's been sitting in a courtroom, which he says is freezing, accused of no one knows what. Every day in the New York Times, there's a different thing that he's accused of. And they keep saying a hush money trial as if it were illegal for him to pay off a hooker, or what, porn star. I shouldn't have said that, but to pay off this woman that he allegedly slept with. That's not illegal. There's nothing illegal about it. So on the right, people are worried. I kept hearing, commentators on the right saying, oh, Trump is walking into a trap because Biden set all the rules. No audience. It's got to be from a viable left-wing place like CNN or ABC. Those are going to get the first two, CNN and ABC. Dana Bash and Jake Tapper, reliable left-wing people, and no audience, no RFK, no mics on when the other guy's talking, so Trump can't interrupt. All of this stuff, all of these rules, and Trump is like, I don't care. But on the right, they're saying, oh, he's walking into a trap. He's being suckered in. They think it's going to be like when Candy Crowley, remember Candy Crowley interrupted Mitt Romney constantly and then fact-checked him falsely and all this stuff. This is absolutely untrue. Trump has got it right. Trump understands that this guy has just thrown meat into his cage and he is going to devour it. I mean, listen, I've been watching Trump all this time during this trial because I can't believe this trial is taking place and I can't believe the lies that are being told about it. And even the pro-Trump newspapers are reporting on it as if somehow it has some meaning other than trying to destroy Donald Trump, which it obviously doesn't. Trump looks great. He looks great. He is walking out of this trial, strong, powerful. The judge won't let him comment on any of the witnesses, so he's reading other people's comments. Republicans are showing up and making comments to support him, and the New York Times is fretting over whether they look bad when they're doing it. He looks great. He looks unstoppable. It is even I, who have had all the problems, and I've told you all the things that my objections and all this stuff, I'm looking at him thinking, this guy is like Superman. And meanwhile, I mean, he's undented. Who else on earth? This is the thing the public understands about Trump that none of the thinking people, none of the intellectuals understand about him. There's something just purely animalistically appealing about a guy who is standing against this wave, this tsunami of hatred from the left, and just it washes over him. I mean, I am sitting there with my jaw dropped, just thinking, can nothing stop this man? And the other thing about him now is his policies, and Ben, I think, was the first person to notice this. Ben Shapiro was the first person to notice his policies are now very moderate. He's attacking to the center. He smells blood. He thinks that he can extend his coalition, and his coalition is in fact changing because there are more black people in it, and there are more Hispanic people in it, and there are fewer white people in it. And another point that I was talking to my son, Spencer Klavan, no relation, and he was saying it's also true now that the people like me who have misgivings about Trump but are going to vote for him without any doubt whatsoever, and the people who love Trump are kind of two separate forces now. In other words, we don't have to join the Trump can do no wrong people to just say, no, I'm voting for him because he's the better candidate. There are two candidates. This was always true. This was what I said in the first time he ran, that there are two candidates and you vote for one or you're voting for the other. And so it's only at this point, Trump, we have Biden saying, oh, I'm going to take your refrigerators, your stoves, your air conditioning away. You have to drive, electric vehicles. And, you can only go as far as the wire that plugs them in. And when the plug comes out, you have to stop. And it's like all this stuff. It's like, leave us the blankety blank alone. Leave us alone. Stop starting wars. Stop being such a weakling. The other thing about the way he manages these wars, both in the Ukraine and the Middle East, is he parcels out his support. So the war just goes on and on and on until eventually we're going to have to pull out. He is just an incompetent. And the polls are reflecting that. They're reflecting his incompetence. They're reflecting the fact that people are watching Trump take the blows and stand up to them without backing down at all. And I just think this thing with a debate is Trump landing a body blow on this guy. And I think the right-wing people who are fretting about it are wrong. I think the left-wing people are trying to make it seem like Biden did something he wanted to do are wrong. I think Biden is walking through the lion's den, and I agree with Trump. I will be deeply, deeply surprised if he actually shows up. Tossing and turning all night is a frustrating experience that many people face at some point in their lives, and I face all the time. When sleep seems elusive, it can be both physically and mentally draining. Try Beam. I love this stuff. It tastes good and it puts you out. It really does. It puts you to sleep. It's not just your run-of-the-mill sleep aid. It's a concoction carefully crafted to help you slip into the sweet embrace of rest without the grogginess that often accompanies other sleep remedies. Beam Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. I actually checked out all those ingredients. They all work, and I tried it. It tastes great, and it does put you to sleep. Today, my listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder, their best-selling hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. It's now available in delicious flavors like cinnamon cocoa, chocolate peanut butter, and mint chip. Better sleep has never tasted better. Just mix Beam Dream into hot water or milk, stir or froth, and enjoy before bedtime. If you find yourself battling the bedtime blues, try it. Your weary self will thank you. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, take advantage of 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Klavan and use code Klavan at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Klavan with my promo code Klavan for up to 40% off your order. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, how do you spell BEAM? It's KLAVAN. All right. Chapter 2, Through the Goalposts. Here is another victory that is being played as if it were somehow controversial or something's wrong with it and there's a great outcry about it. Absolutely untrue. Kansas City Chief kicker Harrison Buttker, great kicker, great player, absolute stalwart. These kickers, they only have to show up like 2 or 3 times a game, but they have to show up in moments of tremendous pressure. He makes a Catholic speech to a Catholic college, Benedictine college, and students graduating from a Catholic college as Catholics, and he makes a Catholic speech to them. And he loves the Latin Mass, so we don't have to worry because the FBI is on him. And he told the young ladies there, I know you think you want careers, but what you really want to do is be wives and mothers and homemakers. And more important than a great career doing useless nothing for a corporation that couldn't care less about you is your vocation as motherhood. Okay. I totally agree with this. I wish I could tell all the young women, I wish I could take them to my age for just 15 minutes so they can see how little they will care about the work they are doing and how much they will care if they miss out on babies and motherhood and homemaking. However, I have more complex stuff to say about that in just a minute. So let's remember, women's happiness has been steadily declining since feminism became a thing in the 70s. It's what the left calls the paradox of declining female happiness and what the right calls But the biggest story this week that feeds into what Buttker said, before I get to what Buttker said exactly, was this from the Wall Street Journal. Suddenly, there aren't enough babies. The whole world is alarmed. Birth rates are falling fast across countries with economic, social, and geopolitical consequences. The world is at a startling demographic milestone. Sometime soon, the global fertility rate will drop below the point needed to keep population constant. It may have already happened. Fertility is falling almost everywhere for women across all levels of income, education, and labor force participation. The falling birth rates come with huge implications for the way people live, how economies grow, and the standings of the world's superpowers. Now, what's important about this, right, is usually, since the 70s, women have been having fewer babies in developed countries. Now, part of that is because just instinctively, without thinking about it, people make more babies when more babies are needed, but if babies are living longer, in other words, if people aren't dying as children as they used to do, which is a wonderful miracle of science, which we should all stop every now and again and appreciate. It used to be like 50% of babies died. Now it's like 2%, 1%. People have fewer babies. You don't need to make as many. You don't need as many replacement parts. But now it's everywhere. And the other thing is, of course, is women get educated. When people get educated, they get stupid. People get educated, and unless they're also wise, they start to forget about the things that matter, kind of basic things that matter, love and being at home and having a family and all those are the things that matter. When they get educated, they start to think other things matter, which they just don't. Take it from me, really, because in 15 minutes, you will be my age. So take it from me, in the long run, they just don't. Mankind is now dying. Mankind is now not replacing itself, it's dying. The cockroaches are thrilled. Oh boy, now we get to evolve into big, gigantic, multi-armed creatures who play chess. This is this is an absolutely huge story. And the way they're going to try and solve this is with electronic wombs. Well, if women don't want to have babies, we'll just make them in these little wombs. And that's going to be a disaster because ultimately, they'll genetically engineer them. They'll be children born without knowing what matters in life, and they'll just die of apathy. Believe me, that is not going to be the answer. So feminism was invented. This is important. Feminism was invented to solve a real problem. The Industrial Revolution erased women's economic power. You know, right-wing conservative evangelicals are always talking about Proverbs 31. They're always saying, I want a Proverbs 31 woman. Let me read you a little bit of Proverbs 31, right? It begins, who can find a virtuous woman? Her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts in her so that he shall have no need of spoil. She'll do him good and not evil all the days of her life. Okay, everyone wants this girl. What's she up to? She seeks wool and flax and works willingly with her hands. She's like the merchant ships. She brings food from afar. She rises while it's night and gives meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands, she plants the vineyard. She girds her loin with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good. Her candle doesn't go out at night. She lays her hand to the spindle and her hands hold the distaff. Women used to be called the distaff. Females used to be called the distaff because they made clothes, right? You didn't go to the store for clothes. There was no store for clothes. Your wife was making the distaff is how you make wool. Was making the wool, was making the material, was making the clothes. She stretches out her hand to the poor. She reaches forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household. Her clothes. I mean, this is a businesswoman. This is a woman doing all these things. It goes on and on and on. So if you think that a Proverbs 31 woman is like, you know, this absolute pure, untouched being who does nothing but, you know, rock her babies, rock her cradles, this is a businesswoman. All of those economic cottage industries were destroyed in the Industrial Revolution. This is really important. This is when feminism starts. This is when Mary Wollstonecraft starts writing her books on the rights of women, right? It's when that happens is when all of that economic power that women had, which is not, you know, it's not about power, it's about respect. It's about being a contributor to society. People want to contribute. People want to feel respected, not just in their homes. I mean, mothers are just beloved in their homes, most of them, if they're good mothers. They're loved in their homes. But these are people who are respected because the entire society, they're holding up half the sky, as the old saying goes. You know, this is, I love this story. Who was it? It was Mungo, who got lost, I think, in Africa, and the women found him, and he was half naked, and he'd been robbed, and everything he had was going, he was starving to death, and the women brought him in, and they let him sleep in their cottage, and the women all got together and started to make clothing. And while they were making clothing, they were singing. And the song they were singing was the poor white man. He has no wife to take care of him. He has no mother to take care of him. How is he going to live? They knew, those women knew who they were. They knew what their place in society was. So when that disappeared in the West because of an industry, that was what feminism was trying to solve. How to give these women back some kind of the dignity of being full participants in the society, and not just what they would call them in the Victorian era, the angel in the house, right? Women aren't angels, they're people. You know, they want to build homes, they want to build families, they want to take care of children, but they're people. They also want to have respect in the community. And that was the kind of overblown respect of the angel in the house, was not the same respect as, oh, this is the woman who makes all the clothing, who makes all the food, who grows the food, who sells the land, and all this stuff. So now we have these two different versions. First, we have the TikTok feminist wife who is out there. This is cut 6.
Here's a list of things that I don't do for my husband. You all know I don't do his laundry. He can do that himself. I do my laundry and we do the kids' laundry, but he does his own. I don't cook dinner. He cooks dinner every single night. I do breakfast and lunch for us and our kids. I don't pack him a lunch. If he's hungry, he'll figure out what he's going to eat for lunch the same way that I do. I don't make his doctor's appointments because guess what? He's not making mine. Would it be kind of me to do that? For sure. Is it my job? Absolutely not. I want him to be healthy, but he's a grown-ass man and he can book his own appointments, right? There's a lot of things that I don't do for my husband.
Yeah, there sure are. And he should do a video now. A lot of things I don't do for my wife. Like, I'm not faithful to her. You know, I mean, come on. She's got a babysitter taking care of our kids. She's so feminine. I'm a babysitter. I love her so much. So I'm sleeping with her. And, you know, I just don't show up at home. You know, she's a terrible wife, bragging about the things she doesn't have. So, okay, that's the thing that the right looks at and says, oh my God, these women are awful. But then there's this thing from the right, which drives me crazy. This is supposedly a trad wife. This is cut 7.
I think it's been really interesting to see how shocked people are by the term trad wife and how they seem to think it's some new way of living, like it's some unprecedented new trend. Like, have you seen these millennial and Gen Z girls? They just want to be at home with their kids. They want to have husbands and they want to take care of their husbands. They want to cook and they want to clean and they want to wear dresses. It's insane. When in reality, it's literally like the oldest lifestyle in the book. Before this, they were just called stay-at-home moms. And before that, they were just called women. But now our society has gone so far in the feminist direction that anybody who wants to live like a little bit old school and a little bit like how women used to live is fringe, right? Like an extremist. And I just think about how so many of us, since we were little, we were raised in this kind of boss babe feminist society that told us you can be so much more than just a mom. You can be so much more than just a wife. And so many of us listened and we, tried to climb corporate ladders and we boss babed so hard. Now, like we're a little bit boss babed out.
So I have to tell you, I very rarely get offended by anything. I find this incredibly offensive. The left isn't worried about this kind of crap at all. They're not worried about this at all. They can make fun of this, and they should make fun of it. That's porn. That's, first, if you weren't watching, she's an absolutely beautiful, faultlessly beautiful woman. She's playing with her hair. She's brushing her hair. She's wearing this very cute, absolutely spotless pink, white dress with little flowers on it. This is for men. This is for men to have sexual fantasies about this kind of trad wife. I couldn't help but look at this and think, like, what is it like to really be a mother? Like, I mean, I still live with a mother, but she was an at-home mother. My daughter is an at-home mother. You're getting peed on a lot. You're getting thrown up on a lot. People are screaming at you all the time. You're managing all these millions of things. And, that's demeaning. That is demeaning to real mothers and homemakers who should be getting the kind of respect. Now listen to what Harrison Buttker said at this commencement address to the Catholic Benedictine College. And first, by the way, I just want to add that I'm not going to play this, but he comes down very hard on men being in the home. We need men in the home, being a father, doing hard things, doing the things that have to be done. None of this like Andrew Tate mock manhood stuff. He's talking about real things that we do for one another. And this is what he then says to the women. Cut 8.
I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now, about to cross this stage, and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. I'm on this stage today and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. I'm beyond blessed with the many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker.
I left that applause in because a lot of the people who were attacking him said there was some applause. There was wild applause. And I just want you to stop for a minute, just in all seriousness, and compare this to a clown like Andrew Tate, talking about women. Compare this to that trad wife porn that came on. Here's a guy, he's a football player, right? I mean, that's a macho thing to be. He's a football player. He can't talk about his wife without choking up. And I'm choking up as I'm listening to it and thinking about it because I know exactly what he's talking about. What he is talking about is people who are in love. And yes, men and women are, generally speaking, different kinds of people who want and do different things well. But they're people still, and they want love, and they want to be respected in their homes. And the fact that the left attacked this guy so seriously, and I'll talk about that in a minute, shows you that he rang the bell. He got it right. He's talking about people in love, in a relationship of exchange of love. And all the talk that we get from the right about what a woman should do and what a man should do forgets this simple fact. These are two people in a relationship of love. And the guy can't even get through it without choking up. And I know exactly why, because I have a wife like that, and I can't get through it without choking up. this is the thing. We are talking about what humans are. And it's not that we've forgotten how to be men and women. It's that we've forgotten how to be people and what people are about, because this is what they're about. And they're about creating children. The only thing you'll ever do that will really, really matter is creating children so that the world, so that human consciousness and the experience of the world and the creation of souls that can know God and love God will continue. And that's why they're after this guy, because he told it like it is. Men, have you heard of Roe Sparks? This dual action prescription merges the powerhouse ingredients found in generic Viagra and Cialis, sildenafil and tadalafil, into one formidable treatment. It's not merely about what's inside them, though. It's about their mode of delivery. Roe Sparks leverages the benefits of sublingual administration, meaning the tablet dissolves under your tongue. This method allows for fast absorption directly into the bloodstream, bypassing the digestive system. The result is quicker onset of action, reducing the wait time typically associated with traditional pills. Moreover, tadalafil stays in your system for up to 36 hours. With Roe Sparks, spontaneity is back on the table. Connect with a provider at ro.co/Klavan to see if Roe Sparks is right for you. That's ro.co/Klavan. Again, that's ro.co/Klavan. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Only available if prescribed after an online consultation with a provider. And you have to know how to spell Klavan. It's Klavan. Chapter 3, The Big Imaginary. Now, the reaction to all of these things is to create an atmosphere in which you think that you're alone for loving what Harrison Buttker is saying, or you think that you're alone in thinking, Donald Trump was a better president than Joe Biden. That's the whole idea, is to make you think that something is happening that is not happening. And I've been experiencing this a little bit online, where people are attacking me for things that I said, which is fine. But this little trick they use, because they're all bots, it's really about 10 people with a lot of bots, and the bots come on and what they say things like, oh, poor Klavan, he used to be so great, but now he sucks. Poor Klavan, we used to like him, but now we see. And you think everything is going great, my life is terrific. Everything's fine, but congratulations on your tweet. It's a way, they did it to J.K. Rowling the other day. Somebody said, your decline has just been sad to see. And Rowling said, wait till I hit the ground, it'll be spectacular. Because nobody has laid a glove on her. They are trying to create an atmosphere of an isolating atmosphere, an atmosphere that everybody else is in agreement, but you are alone. The Biden administration notified Congress Tuesday that it was moving forward with more than $1 billion in new weapons deals for Israel. Okay, so in other words, it's sending the arms that they were withholding from Israel. Why? Why are they doing this? I mean, partly it's in keeping with the Biden administration's policy of doing everything they do badly, parceling out things, holding back, and then giving things so that nobody can win a war, nobody can, get anything done. Biden is just a terrible, terrible, terrible president on the evidence, on the facts. But he thought he was withholding this from Israel because he thought all those people screaming on campuses were the people. He thought the New York Times is telling them they're the people. The reason you're falling in the polls is because Gaza is so important to black people. That's what, that is what black people and young people are sitting around talking about. They can't pay their loans, their college loans, and they're sitting around going, yeah, but we really got to get the rapists of Hamas. We got to be nicer to those people. That's right. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And most people support Israel. Most people understand this is a free state up against rapists and murderers. They have to be supported in some way. People think differently about whether they should, send how much money or what they. And Biden found that out, right? Suddenly it turned out, oh my gosh, I was operating in the atmosphere, the big imaginary, but in the real world, other things were happening. And because the mainstream media has completely shot its credibility wad trying to take down Donald Trump, which is maybe Trump's greatest accomplishment, that he has destroyed these people. They were liars before. This idea that they only started lying when Trump came along is a lie in and of itself, but they got so hysterical over Trump that they lied and lied and lied because they understood that their lies weren't controlling the vote. The lies weren't controlling the vote, so they had to amp it up. All right, so Harrison Buttker gets up, and as I said, his jersey and his merch is walking out of the store. They don't even need people in his merch, in his jersey. His jerseys are getting up and walking out of the store because people are buying them because they love what he said so much, because he stood up and said the stuff that he had to say. Now, on the left, there's this thing called change.com, and they're passing around a petition that the Kansas City Chiefs should fire their great kicker because he said things that they don't agree with. Now, change.com is a business, by the way. They have things against George Soros. They have things against right and against the left. All they do is they say, if you want to send out a petition, we will link your petition to the people who will sign your petition so you can create the illusion, the big imaginary that people support your petition, right? Here is today. Just watch this. This is like a master class on how this is done. Here is the Today Show reacting to Harrison Buttker. Cut 10.
The NFL responding, saying Buttker gave a speech in his personal capacity, and his views are not those of the league, while outrage builds online.
Not only did he disrespect career women and every woman in that audience who just got her college degree, but he disrespected his wife and stay-at-home moms everywhere.
Some pointing out the Georgia native's own mother is a physicist in the Department of Oncology at Emory. The Chiefs player also invoking a Taylor Swift lyric while criticizing priests.
Because as my teammate's girlfriend says, familiarity breeds contempt.
Swifties wasting no time responding. I dare Harrison Buttker to tell Taylor Swift she has no value unless she is a wife, mother, and homemaker.
So, all right. So first of all, I said it was change.com. It's change.org. But it's a business. It's just a business creating this thing. So what you have is the big imaginary of TV, quoting the big imaginary of the internet to say that there is a big imaginary in which Harrison Buttker is controversial. I don't think he's controversial. I think he's saying what a lot of people believe, even when they don't believe it. And by the way, he didn't tell anybody what to do. He told people what he thought they would be happier doing. That is what he said. He told them what they would be happier doing in a Catholic college from a Catholic who goes to the Latin Mass. And so he's being followed by the FBI anyway, so the Today Show doesn't have to worry about him. But still, this is a complete, that thing that you just watched is a complete creation of imaginary controversy that isn't real. Do we have any numbers on it? No, we have nothing. We have no evidence whatsoever. And they're doing this to all the celebrities, right? People are blocking celebrities online if they don't come out, not if they say they support Israel, but if they don't come out for the rapists and killers of Hamas. If they don't have to actually say we like the free state of Israel where everybody's treated fairly and there's a democrat system. They have to say we love the rapists and killers of Hamas. We want babies burned. We want women raped to death. We want bodies, mutilated and destroyed. That's what we want. So Jerry Seinfeld showed up at Duke University. And Jerry Seinfeld, who is Jewish and he supports Israel, and he gives a very charming speech. Here's a little bit of his speech, cut 11.
Privilege today seems to be the worst thing you can have. I would like to take a moment to defend it. Again, a lot of you are thinking, I can't believe they invited this guy. Too late. I say, use your privilege. I grew up a Jewish boy from New York. That is a privilege if you want to be a comedian. Thanks. If I messed up a funny story around my relatives, they would go, that's not how you tell that joke. The prostitute has to be behind the drapes when the wife comes in. You went to Duke. That is an unbelievable privilege. I now have an honorary doctorate of humane letters degree from Duke University. And if I can figure out a way to use that, I will. I haven't figured anything out yet. I think it's pretty much as useful in real life as this outfit I'm wearing.
Very charming speech, telling people to work hard. The work, it matters more than the outcome. You're going to fail a million times, but you should work hard. Great speech. So because he supports Israel and doesn't support the rapists and killers of Hamas, the headlines almost universally were students stage walkout at Seinfeld's speech. About 20 students walked out. 98% of the students stayed. You could hear them cheering. You could hear them clapping. They were applauding the fact that he says he's Jewish. They were manufacturing this big imaginary controversy. Christian Toto writes about it at Hollywood in Toto, where he talks about the fact that Seinfeld recently said that all this wokeness is killing comedy. And he said that they now are talking about, oh, this is very controversial. And Slate is saying, what's the deal with Jerry Seinfeld? The Hollywood Reporter, I'm reading Christian Toto's work, the Hollywood Reporter fretted that Seinfeld's new outspoken mane could hurt his career, something John Nolte rightly noted is never mentioned when a star veers to the left. CNN cranked out a think piece centered on the author's growing unease over the clean comic. So it's just a world that is supposed to exist in which Jerry Seinfeld has now got a problem that he didn't have before, and it is obviously complete nonsense. And the thing about it is it's meant to frighten people. It is meant to frighten the people who hire Seinfeld. It's meant to frighten Seinfeld. It's meant to frighten everybody and silence them into saying what you're supposed to say. So when you're listening to a celebrity, you're not only listening to somebody who doesn't know what he's talking about, which is true, but you are listening to somebody who is being bullied and threatened. This is a career that these people have built. You know, it's incredibly hard to become a successful actor, incredibly hard to become a successful comedian, a successful novelist, very hard to do. If you do it, you want to protect it. And if you're threatened and you have no integrity, you're going to cave in. I was talking about this before with audience capture. If you think part of the people who are following you love Hamas, even though you know Hamas is a bunch of rapists and killers defending a regime of raping and killing, you might keep your mouth shut about it to protect your audience. So here is another piece of Harrison Butker's speech, and this is the part that they're really, really after.
While COVID might have played a large role throughout your formative years, it is not unique. Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally. He has been so vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure to many people, it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice. He is not alone. From the man behind the COVID lockdowns to the people pushing dangerous gender ideologies onto the youth of America, they all have a glaring thing in common. They are Catholic. This is an important reminder that being Catholic alone doesn't cut it.
So what they are threatening him with, and what they're threatening Seinfeld with, and what they're threatening Rowling with, and what they're threatening everybody with, is less popularity. And for just a minute here, I just want to speak to people who consider themselves Christian. Popularity is not a sign that things are going well. Popularity is not a sign that you are doing well. Your God died on a cross while people laughed at him and everybody deserted him except his mom, okay? If you're judging yourself by how many followers you have, how many likes you get, how many, what your ratings are and all this stuff, you're living in an illusion and you are handing your power over to people who hate you. Speak the truth, live in the truth, and eventually you will get to a place of truth. And if people don't follow you into the truth, then that's going to be your life. And it's going to be a worthwhile life because the truth will out in the end. The truth does win out in the end. You hope it wins out while you're around. If not, not. But that's what Harrison Butker did. And this is what this big imaginary is meant to do. It is meant to create an imaginary truth, an imaginary threat to the truth. And for the first time really in human history in a way, people can fight back on the instant, and that's why they want to take over social media, and that's why they want to silence people, and most importantly, it's why they want people to stop talking about God. By now, you should know it's Genucel's 25-year anniversary, and right now, my listeners will get an extra 25% off their already awesome prices making this the biggest Genucel sale ever. Genucel is offering an extra 25% off in honor of their 25th anniversary. This makes this already awesome Mother's Day sale their biggest sale yet. If you haven't tried Genucel, a great place to start is with their most popular package. This package features their Gen 90 serum, which instantly erases the wrinkles around your eyes, forehead, and mouth. It also includes their top-selling under-eye bags and puffiness serum, as well as their jawline treatment for a more contoured, defined jawline. Genucel is so confident in their product that they guarantee you'll see results in less than 12 hours or you'll get your money back. For a limited time, get an extra 25% off for Genucel's anniversary. The discount is automatically applied at checkout. Once the sale is gone, it's gone. Order yours right now and get the Genucel jawline treatment for more contoured, defined jawline. Visit Genucel.com/Klavan. And to sweeten the deal even more, you'll also receive a free spa box with 2 bonus gifts and free shipping at Genucel.com/ how do you spell it? It's Klavan. There are no E's in Klavan. I just make it look this easy.
There are no E's in Klavan.
Final chapter, church and state. Now, I just want to reflect for just a couple of minutes on one of the thing that Buttker did at the end there. He's talking about religion. He's talking about your relationship to God. He's talking about being a Catholic. And then he went into a political talk. He talked about Joe Biden supporting abortion. He talked about Fauci being the reason that COVID was so bad. And this is something that really does bug me, just like it bugs me when Trump's trial is called his hush money trial, when he's not charged with hush money. He's charged with something completely, nobody knows what he's charged with. In fact, it always bothers me when people say because of COVID, something happened. Because of COVID, people are isolated. Because of COVID, no, it's because of bad policy by guys like Fauci and, Trump bearing some blame for that and Biden continuing it because the left loved it. The left loved the lockdowns. They loved people being isolated. They loved people being afraid. They loved people not being able to go to church, all that stuff. And so they continued it long. I mean, if Trump had actually done what he wanted to do, he would have stopped it beforehand. So suddenly he's talking about politics, and you think, well, what is politics and religion? Do they mix? Now, the Wall Street Journal ran an interesting piece on Franklin Graham, and I have to just to state my interest. Franklin Graham has a lot of my money. I keep giving him money for his Samaritan's Purse. It goes around the world helping people in trouble in the name of Jesus. They go to earthquake regions and things like that. And of course, if you're gay, they put you back in the rubble. No, they don't do that. They're constantly being attacked because Franklin Graham believes in that a marriage is between a man and a woman. And he's being attacked for that as if somehow they don't serve everybody, but they go out and serve everybody in the name of Jesus, right? That is the point of what they do. That's why I keep giving that guy money, and I hope he's using it well. All right. So they're talking about the fact that Graham bought a copy of Trump's Bible. And here's a quote from the article. Graham's intrigue with the Trump-backed Bible offers a case in point to the presumptive GOP presidential nominee's stronghold on evangelical Christians, many of them white, ahead of the November election. To many evangelicals, Trump, despite his at times checkered personal life, continues to be their champion with his unapologetic, politically incorrect approach to politics, religion, and world affairs. His embrace of Christianity for political promotion and vindication in the face of legal turmoil has only deepened the conviction of Trump's Christian base, according to officials with his campaign and some evangelical leaders. So that was fair, right? Taking it apart. Then it goes on. Graham's father, the late Billy Graham, one of the most prominent evangelists of the 20th century, once conceded that he wished he had steered clear of politics over the years. He was the preacher to almost all the presidents, Democrat and Republican, Billy Graham, and he felt he got burned by Nixon, and that's why he said that. But this is an article, slanted article, basically telling Franklin Graham to knock it off, telling evangelicals that they're in trouble if they come out and they mix religion and politics. And here is what I want to say. There is no morality without God. I know that people who are younger and smarter than I am think that there is. I argue with people about this. You have to go down every wrong road, as I did, before you admit the fact that there is no morality without God. Without God, everything is permitted. And all the philosophers have said this. All the real great thinkers have said this. They have said, without God, the morality should be the exact opposite of what we think it is, which is that you should help the poor. No, you should help yourself. You should help the weak. No, you should let the strong dominate the weak. And you can do it in secret if that's, game theory, if you want to pretend to be a good person. But basically, there's no morality without God. So when the left starts telling you, oh, Hamas, poor Hamas, they had to rape those people to death. They had to kill those people. And they didn't do it, but if they did, it was good. And that's ideology. That morality is acknowledging that there is a morality. And then you have to ask them, is that what God wants? Does God want you to rape people to death? If we were oppressed, if we were conquered, would we then be justified in raping people? Is that really what we think God wants? Because once you start to think about it that way, your ideology starts to fall apart. Your ideology that has put you in this haze of the great imaginary, because there's no greater imaginary than ideology, where suddenly right is wrong and wrong is right because it serves the state, or it serves decolonization, or it serves intersectionality, right? Suddenly it's okay to rape a woman to death or kill somebody because you are colonized. Now, the fact that you colonize other people or you treat people like garbage and the people colonizing you are a better state has nothing to do with anything. And it's only when you start to think, oh, you are introducing God, you're just introducing him namelessly in the terms of your ideology, that you start to think, of course we should be talking about God. Of course we should. And we should be arguing about it. What is his nature? What does he want from us? It's not just pounding on the Bible and says on the Bible here. It's let's think about this for a minute. Is this what he wants? Is there some ideology that justifies raping women to death? Is there? Really? Do you think so? Is that why you're on this campus with your keffiyeh wrapped around your face, talking about things you don't know? I mean, is there really? G.K. Chesterton has a quote. I'll close with this. He says, the modern world is not evil. In some ways, the modern world is far too good. Chesterton was a Catholic. It is full of wild and wasted virtues. When a religious scheme is shattered, as Christianity was shattered at the Reformation, it is not merely the vices that are let loose. The vices are indeed let loose and they wander and do damage, but the virtues are let loose also. And the virtues wander more wildly and the virtues do more terrible damage. The modern world is full of the old Christian virtues gone mad. The virtues have gone mad because they have been isolated from each other and are wandering alone. Thus, some scientists care for truth, and their truth is pitiless. Thus, some humanitarians only care for pity, and their pity is often untruthful. That is what we're seeing today. We're seeing compassion misused. We're seeing compassion that is dishonest. And it's all because we allow them to tell us that there is a separation between church and state, meaning not that the state shouldn't choose between religions, which I believe is true, but meaning we should not be talking about what God wants from us. And I think we must, because anybody who is putting forward a moral system is talking about it, whether he knows it or not. This Sunday, get ready for an all-new episode of Mr. Birchum, the Daily Wire's groundbreaking animated sitcom. Join the comedic genius of Adam Carolla, Megyn Kelly, Roseanne Barr, Jay Moore, Patrick Warburton, Danny Trejo, our very own Brett Cooper, and an all-star cast at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, exclusively on Daily Wire Plus. If you missed the series premiere last Sunday night, catch up now. Or if this is your first time hearing, we launched a hilarious animated sitcom from Adam Carolla. Let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Birchum. He is the no-nonsense junior high woodshop teacher struggling to navigate a world he doesn't understand or approve of, constantly clashing with his gamer son, snowflake students, and most notably the school's spirited Jedi officer, Karponzi. That's Jedi for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. In case you were wondering, trust me, you will not be a fan of Karponzi. I repeat, episodes 1 and 2 are streaming now with new episodes released every Sunday exclusively on Daily Wire Plus. Don't miss out on the laughter, the lessons, and of course, the lumber. Plus, for a limited time, get 25% off all Daily Wire Plus annual memberships with code BIRCHUM25 at checkout at dailywireplus.com. Klavan Klapbacks.
Well, make my day, pal.
What a tough guy. All right. This is from Noah Jossi, O Klavan the Unshaven Maven of Satisfying My Weekly Claveny Craven. In your last episode, you used a line from Milton's Paradise Lost to support your view of how men and women should submit to God differently. Do you believe extra biblical sources such as Paradise Lost should inform our theology, philosophy of life? And if so, how do you determine what works are communicating the truth about the sacred? Well, I absolutely think that literature informs us about the soul of a culture, about the soul of humanity. I think that you cannot understand the world without reading literature. And of course, you have to make the judgments of which literature is representing the world accurately. And I think we all do that. We go to whatever it is, even if we go to Star Wars, or some kind of dopey superhero movie, we might say, oh, he wouldn't have done that in that situation. That is an untrue depiction of what human beings are like. And one of the problems I have with superhero stories is because they have no sex or death in them, essentially, then people are not acting the way actual people were. They're not actually referencing anything. But still, we all make judgments about art and what is true and what's not true. And I think that what you're missing here is there is no certainty. People are always looking for certainty. They're saying, well, in certain situations, the Pope is infallible or the Scripture is inerrant. And my answer to that is, first of all, I don't believe there's any man who's infallible. I believe that even if God is sitting next to us, whispering in our ear, we can get it wrong. That's my low opinion of humankind. But also, Scripture may be inerrant, but it's not. It doesn't only have one meaning. I mean, people have been reading Scripture for 2,000 years and have said very, very different things about what it means. So like the Constitution, somebody once said to me, the Constitution is a living document. And I said, yes, but it's not a blank document. And that's the truth of Scripture too. It's not that Scripture says nothing. It's not that you can interpret it out of existence. But there are different ways of looking at Scripture. And it is an entire story. It's not just one line that you pull out and say, now I know the truth. So there is no certainty. We all have to use discernment. And you pray for discernment and you live in order to gain discernment, and you gain more discernment as you grow older and you see things that you thought were true that become untrue. And that is one of the reasons why it's so important that the people who are taxed with giving you a view of the world, like newsmen, should be giving you the facts, because the idea that they know what's right and wrong is absurd. I mean, all of us are kind of, moving forward through the fog, trying to figure out what is right and what is wrong. Even if you know something is wrong, for instance, like murder, you don't always know what the right response is. Is the right response execution? Is the right response imprisonment? Is there some way of reforming murderers? These are all questions that remain open all the time and have to be discussed. So I find literature one of the most informative things that you can consume in terms of growing wise. It's just like adding extra lives to your life. But you have to, just like everything else, you have to ask yourself, is that true? Is that what somebody would do? Paradise Lost is a brilliant, brilliant piece of theological creation, but that's no reason not to question it. And I do question it, but there are also moments when I think it says something really beautiful. All right, we are now going into member block. That means that those of you who are not members are plummeting into Klavanlessness. It's like a gigantic lake, a sort of black lake of nothingness that you are now going to go into unless you become a member today. You can do this by going to dailywire.com/subscribe and use code Klavan at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. dailywire.com/subscribe and use code Klavan so you won't be Klavan-less. Members, come to Member Block.